Good morning, Minnesota DFLers, and welcome to the DFL Daily. Richard Carlbaum here, chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Great to be with you each and every morning, making sure that you have the message, the action, and the tools to be empowered in this important time so we win big in the 2026 midterm election. Before we get into today's topic, there's so much happening this weekend in so many ways you can connect. Please bring somebody with you. Starting tonight at 4 o'clock, head up to Park Rapids for the Hubbard County DFL Walleye Dinner. Also at 5 p.m., the Senate District 27 is having a phone bank. I'm heading up to Duluth, where Marge, Shavanti, Siri, and I will be attending the CD8 Overstar dinner. Then tomorrow morning at 8, join the Steele County DFL for Eggs and Issues in Owatonna. Tomorrow at noon, it's the Working Families Picnic at the Phelan Amphitheater in St. Paul. And tomorrow at 1:30 in Marshall, there's the Meet and Greet Ice Cream Social with Zach Filipovich, our candidate for state auditor. Then finally, Sunday at 11:30, SC64 is hosting the St. Paul Working Families Picnic and Barbecue. If a coffee and conversation is more your speed, tomorrow morning is full of it. St. Michael, Coon Rapids, Farmington, Apple Valley, Plymouth, and Ramsey all have events going on sometime between 8:30 and 10. You can find one that's closest to you. All of these events and more can be found at dfl.org/events. I also want to say that this weekend is our great Minnesota Knock Together weekend of action. This is an opportunity for us to go out and talk to our neighbors the weekend before the state fair begins. We're going to ask one simple question: how are things going and what's concerning you? And that will spark a conversation at the door that will lead us into being able to talk about our candidates who are ready to deliver for Minnesotans. Shifts start at 10 a.m. tomorrow on Saturday morning. They're all over the place, from St. Paul to Mendota Heights to Brooklyn Park, to Prior Lake to Chaska to Minnetonka, Duluth, Bemidji, Mankato, Rochester, Moorhead, St. Cloud, all with Attorney General Ellison in St. Cloud. So we got to get out there and knock these doors. All those shifts keep running all weekend through Sunday afternoon. We'll see you out there. Please take a shift. Please bring a friend and introduce them to what going door to door and listening to voters looks like. Mobilize is where you can find all these. We'll drop that link in the chat right now as well. All right, let's get into today's topic. Yesterday afternoon, we filled the House of Labor and kicked off this general election together, united. Thank you to Tony McGarvey and the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades for hosting our rally in Little Canada. I joined Senator Amy Klobuchar, our candidate for governor, Senator Tina Smith, Congresswoman Angie Craig, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, our candidate for the United States Senate. Here's why we were in that room. More than 1.1 million Minnesotans voted in the primary, the most in Minnesota primary history. Roughly 63% of those votes went to DFL candidates, and Amy Klobuchar and Peggy Flanagan each received more votes than the total Republican turnout in their own races. Each of them alone outdrew every Republican in their race combined. That's the strength we're bringing in this general election. Now, a room full of Democrats standing together is a great picture, but what matters most is what it's for. Senator Klobuchar said it plainly. She said, "We stand united to let Minnesota know that our ticket is serious and serious about delivering results. Serious about delivering results. Serious about making your healthcare costs less next year than it is this year. Serious about helping your kid afford their first home, and serious about making sure the hospital in your own town stays open." And that's really what yesterday was all about. So let me say it plainly as I can. Being a DFLer is about fighting unapologetically for working people. That's always been our foundational value. And it's more important today than ever. Now that the primary is behind us, we're beginning to fight forward together. We're united. They're infighting. You know, Adam Schwartzy still refuses to endorse Michelle Tafoya. Mike Lindell is paying $1 million to do a recount in the governor's race on the Republican side. They are as divided as they were before the primary. We are more united than ever before. Now, here's how the press coverage of our rally, here's some press coverage of the rally. The Pioneer Press headline said, "Top DFL candidates look to project unity amid GOP post-primary infighting." That's the contrast right there. 1 week ago, Peggy Flanagan won a competitive primary against Angie Craig. Two people running to represent you in the U.S. Senate who both worked incredibly hard for it and who both care a great deal about this state. Yesterday, Angie showed the unity and strength of DFLers by standing side by side with Peggy and showing her support. Let's roll a clip.
Peggy and I competed hard because we both care deeply about Minnesota.
Craig, fresh off a loss to Flanagan in the primary, put her support behind her for the November election.
We may not agree on every issue or every approach, but we agree on far more than we disagree. and I am going to do everything that I can to help elect Peggy Flanagan to the United States Senate this November.
Absolute class act, Angie Craig. Thank you so much. That was the first time on stage together since the primary ended. And Peggy thanked her right back for her gracious words, her support, and for running one hell of a campaign. That's what our side is doing. Now let's talk about the other side of that headline, the Minnesota GOP. Neither Michelle Tafoya nor Lisa Demuth won their own party's endorsement. Republican activists picked someone else, and Republican voters overruled them. They've yet to host a post-primary event because they're too busy fighting with each other. Adam Schwartzy, as I said earlier, was the endorsed Republican for U.S. Senate. He lost it to Michelle Tafoya, and he refuses to publicly support her. In fact, he said publicly he will not support her in this election. Mike Lindell is calling for a recount after losing to Demuth, a recount of his own party's primary. It's going to cost him $1 million. Our nominee's opponent stood on stage and rallied for her opponent to a full room of Minnesotans yesterday. Their nominee has an opponent who won't say her name and another one demanding a recount. While the GOP is fighting with each other, we're united and ready to fight for you. I felt that energy in the room yesterday. And understand what all that chaos is about. It isn't about you. Just yesterday, that if elected to the U.S. Senate, the last people I'm going to answer to are the Minnesotans who send me there, unquote. Direct quote. Now, I'm sure she'll say she misspoke, but that is literally her direct quote. She said it a quiet part out loud. She's going to serve Donald Trump, not us. She actually admitted that. She's called Minnesota a provincial state. She said she's embarrassed to tell people she's from here, and she's talked about leaving. Actually, fleeing was her word. I said this yesterday. I'll say it again here. The rest of us aren't going anywhere, and we are going to be voting in November. Lisa Demuth was asked to name one issue, just one, where she disagrees with Donald Trump. She couldn't do it. In fact, she said that she was grateful for Trump's bill. Grateful. She's grateful for the big, ugly bill. She's grateful for higher premiums. She's grateful for pulling people's Medicaid out from under them. She's grateful for rural hospitals in the state that are now at risk of closing their doors. That's what she's grateful for. That tells us exactly who she's fighting for and is not Minnesotans. We're with you. Republicans are with Trump. So here's your action and it's two things. Share the rally content. Please share this out. It's getting a lot of really awesome play across our broad coalition of Democrats. People are excited about this rally that took place yesterday. Please share it out far and wide. It's up on our channels and DFL Amplify this morning. Post it, tag it to the DFL, send it to somebody who's been asking about what's going on in Minnesota politics. Then sign up for one thing this weekend. Sign up for part of our weekend of action. Please sign up for a canvassing shift with the Great Minnesota Knock Together. Yes, that's a play on the words of the Great Minnesota Get Together, but this weekend it's the Great Minnesota Knock Together before we all attend the Great Minnesota Get Together starting next week, Thursday. That link is going to go in the chat right now as well. It's a mobilized link. All right, we've got 74 days until the November 3rd midterm election, and we've got 56 days until in-person early voting opens. I'm going to close the show today. I'm not going to close the show today. Peggy Flanagan's going to do it for us. Take it away.
I have never been more proud to be a Minnesotan, friends. And now, we have 75 days to turn that pride into action. 75 days to knock doors, make calls, and earn every vote. 75 days to keep Minnesota blue and take back the United States Senate. And friends, we will use every one of those days to elect DFLers up and down the ballot. Amy Klobuchar as our next governor. Ben Shire as our next LG. Keith Ellison continuing to be our great Attorney General. The best Secretary of State in the country, Steve Simon. And our next auditor, Zach Filipovich. And we're also going to make sure that we elect Betty, an Ilhan, Kelly, Jake, Matt, Trina, Doug, and Eric. And the DFLers running all across our state for our state legislature in every corner of Minnesota. And I am so grateful to be on this team, on this united ticket. We are so powerful when we stand shoulder to shoulder and fight together. So we are one team. When we organize together, we win together. Now let's go win this thing. Thank you so much.